And we are in. Would you like to cough immediately? There we go. Excellent. Well done. Oh, you just play. Yeah, nice. That's great. An infinity loop of madness. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm alright, man. Yeah, I'm good. We were just talking off air. Saw a big fight on my way home.
Excellent. Were you involved in any way?
No, no. I like how you immediately texted. Did someone shout "World Star"? Or no, did you shout "World Star"? And I said no, but someone else did. I didn't realise people still did that.
Yeah,
It must have
shout.
been an older guy. It must have been like someone our age.
World Star. I don't know where that tradition came from. It's a hip hop thing, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, it was like a video site, wasn't it? With just all like messed up videos on it, and then people just started shouting "World Star." And I think you got paid if you sent them to them. It was like paparazzi for povos. I don't know. Can I say that? Yeah.
Yeah, you can say that. I've just realised that I've messed up your audio, so keep talking while I fix it.
What's wrong with my audio? Am I silent?
No, it's going to be fine in a second. There we go. It should be fine now.
Is it fine now?
Yes, I fixed it. Whoops, sorry everybody. I am an absolute professional 50% of the time and less.
So that was interesting. Big fight. That was good. And I also wanted to talk to you about my trouser experiment.
Your trouser experiment. Okay.
Yeah, I sent you a note on Insta yesterday, I think. So on Monday, we've talked about this before. How I wear big jeans, haven't we? Like, and I believe I've actually succeeded in bringing big jeans back into fashion in the UK. I am a fashionista, um, and everyone is now wearing big jeans. But on Monday, I couldn't find my big jeans because Sharon, in her loveliness, had done some washing, and I couldn't find my normal jeans. So I put on uh, a different pair of jeans that other people would describe as normal, just like straight sort of dad jeans. And
Right.
I went into work and I was feeling a bit self conscious because my legs comparatively looked very skinny and they almost felt like skinny jeans in comparison to my normal big skater 90s jeans. And and I went in and I got loads of comments, loads of like positive comments. Oh,
Positive comments.
yeah.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
you look smart today.
You look
Oh,
smart.
yeah. And I was still wearing like a wrestling t-shirt and wrestling hoodie, which everyone knows is basically my uniform and the only clothes I ever buy because I'm a child. But but I thought, oh, this is interesting. I wonder what would happen if I wore even tighter jeans. So
Oh
on
God.
Tuesday, I found a pair of skinny jeans because I do
Yeah.
own some. I very rarely wear them. I wear them like if we go out, like, and I want to look a bit smarter. So I wore some like pretty skinny jeans. And on Tuesday, I got even more compliments. And also, like, 'cause I've lost a bit of weight, I think if I wear skinny jeans, it's more noticeable and like people go, "Oh, you've lost weight. Oh, you're looking good." And then our NMP, who's like quite an important person at work, he goes, "Rich, you look very smart today, very professional. I like it." And I thought, "Oh, this is good. What would happen if I wore even skinnier jeans?" so,
Dude,
so
be careful. You're going to lose your feet. It's going to cut off the
well, that
circulation.
almost happened on Wednesday. I went and found the tightest pair of jeans, like Craig Monk style
Oh my goodness.
level jeans. I went in, and my friend Callum, who's an international fashion man or thinks he is, he said I look good. And the NMP man collared me in the gents' toilets whilst I was doing a wee wee and started talking to me about how professional I looked. And so I was
That's
wondering what to
yeah.
do today, just maybe paint my legs
That's
or
next
just not
level.
not wear trousers at all, but I literally couldn't find any tighter ones.
I don't
So
know.
the
Yeah,
experiment
where
sort of
do you
failed.
go? Where do you go from the tightest possible trousers that you can wear? I guess it would just be booty shorts, right?
Or women's trousers. That's where Craig used to go, innit? You go to
Yeah,
like
yeah. You used
Taboo
to.
or
Yeah.
something, and like buy girls skinny jeans. So yeah, so that's been how I've been entertaining myself this week. What have you been up to?
Not wearing women's clothing. I've mostly just been working and I had 2 days off. That's right.
Yeah, I
Um,
know you haven't mostly been working
yeah,
because it's like been bank holiday week in Spain
yeah.
again.
We got 2 days off because some Spanish people had a fight about 200 years ago, and the locals won. It was a scrap. I won't go into historical detail, but
Please
basically,
don't.
the local people in Zaragoza have got a reputation for being heroic, and it came from several specific battles that took place in the 1800s. And it's just because the local farmers and the women as well here, because we respect and honour them with various statues around the city. Fought
I've seen them.
against. I think you might have done actually. There's one in particular called Agustina of Aragon, who was this furious woman that was loading cannonballs into cannons while they were fighting off the French, and she got a statue made about her because she was terrifying. And yeah, it was just local, not ordinary people that fought off this several military forces, and they were like, "Blimey, they're a bit double-hard in Zaragoza."
Badass.
Double R bastards. So yeah, that was what that was about. Cinco Marthada, not to be confused with Cinco de Mayo, which is
Yeah, I often
Mexican.
confuse them.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you do. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. I celebrated by working on my day off, and then on my second day off, I went and had a meal at a friend's house, and that was it. I can't remember what I did with the rest of the day. Probably more. Oh no, I had some more work. Yeah, I did some more. I celebrated my days off by working, as is my want. I'm a pure blood capitalist. You know, I can't help myself.
Well, it's a week and one day until the best day of your year, isn't it?
My birthday. That's in June.
No, I'm coming to visit.
Oh yeah, forgotten about that. Yeah, that's true. That's happening. So we'll be doing, if we have time, because you're here for I think 3.5 hours. We'll do a quick podcast if it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
you're literally arriving on Friday evening.
Or
Coming
maybe
to.
I'll stay up past 10 o'clock and we can do something.
Neither of us can manage that. We're middle aged now. You'll get here. We'll eat something. We'll have a glass of milk and some cookies each, and go to bed. And then we'll get up on the Saturday and go and do the thing that we've got to do. And then you'll get straight back on a plane and go home. But the great news is I will be in England more during the summer this year. I'm actually quite looking forward to it. It's going on holiday in your own country is kind of I don't know. It's a strange experience. I've been out of the country for so long that it feels quite different and unique to me. It does feel like going on holiday in England. Isn't that weird? All you have to do is stay out of the country for 10 years. And then when you go back, it's nice. It's nice again.
Well, I don't know. If you want to come and see some tram stop fights,
I'm sure I'll
come
see
and
plenty
swing by
of that.
Nottingham.
I'm going to Stevenage, so I'm definitely going to see some violence. Anyway, talking about random violence in the street, that's directly connected to today's theme, which is the title is Recovering, but maybe you'd like to dive into what that actually means as you're the expert.
Well, yeah, we've never really fully gone into it on this podcast, have we? But I am what some people would call in recovery from various addictive habits that weren't particularly healthy physically or mentally. And me and you did a podcast maybe 3 or 4 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
About it was. I used to do a little video podcast channel, and around addiction, because everyone who gets into recovery wants to tell everyone how great it is and how great we are.
Yeah, it's part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's like literally a pattern that fucking most people go through, and thankfully I've sort of been through that, and maybe I'm not so self-egregious about it now. Is that the right word? I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, we did a podcast, 4 or 5 years ago now, and it was called My Mate Ben, and it was basically you just telling me what a shit I'd been for the last 20 years.
Yeah,
Which was
I
actually
enjoyed that.
yeah, no, it was really, really healthy.
Let's do that again.
Yeah, well, I think that's basically what we're
Shared.
going to do. But yeah, I don't want to make it all about me. But like, I'm coming up to 6 years of no mind or mood altering substances. So that's the old booze and anything else like pills and powders. And yeah, I think it's something that affects a lot of people. I know, like, we've got friends that it affects, and family members, and I think everyone is sort of connected to addiction and hopefully recovery in some way or another. I also work in that field now, which again is a pattern of people in recovery. We kind of, I think there's an element of wanting to give something back, but after a time, the nobility of it becomes lessened when you just get jaded.
I wanted to ask you about that because I know that the area that you work in is, I mean, most people wouldn't want to do it. It's incredibly stressful. You see a lot of terrible things. You see people at their worst. You see reflections of yourself from your own experiences. And I don't know, what is it that keeps you? I mean, you answered this question last week when we were we briefly spoke about jobs, and you said, well, at the end of the day, it's the salary, which is completely true and honest, because nobody wants to do anything for free, but especially nobody wants to do a hard job for free. Of course, you've got to be compensated for it. But since you're kind of like knee deep in the problems that you had to overcome on a daily basis, like, how do you deal with that? What keeps you going? And do you ever find yourself, like, do you reflect on it in terms of your experience, or do you get tempted, or do you know what I mean? There's about five different questions in one question there, but yeah, just
I think I have a real problem with empathy. If I do.
You're in the right job then.
Yeah, no, let me go into a bit more than that. Yeah, I'm shit at empathy. No, I think I have a real problem with empathy if it's not something I can directly relate to something I've been through. So if someone were to come up to me and tell me my mum's just died, I'd be like, oh, yeah, shit, sorry.
That's annoying.
Yeah, that's really sad. And I won't be able to like fully relate to that until, God forbid, one day I go through it. I mean, it will happen. I don't know why I said God forbid, but when it comes to like addiction and some of the things that go around it, I've experienced some of that. Like, I was quite lucky in my addiction. Like, I work specifically with homeless rough sleepers or people that are like in hostels and stuff like that, and I was lucky in as much as I didn't get that far down that line. I was I hate the term functioning addict, but I had a house and a job most of the time. Well, I had a million jobs, like we discussed.
Yeah, you had too many jobs. Why do you have a problem with that phrase? Because it's something that you've said to me several times. What's the problem with functioning addict or functioning alcoholic? Why does that?
I think it suggests that there's something functional about it. Driving on the M25, around the outskirts of London with a litre bottle of Smirnoff in the cubby thing in the middle of
the glove box,
passenger seat. No, the thing next to you. Like getting in the way of the gear stick. That doesn't seem functional, and a lot of my sort of behaviours weren't, didn't lead to any sort of functioning life. A lot of the sort of choices I made didn't. It wasn't functional. Like my dad's a functional human being, and always has been. Like I couldn't function without putting a substance in my body.
I suppose that it's the deception, isn't it, of that
Yeah,
term? Like,
yeah,
because functioning gives you the other people the perception that you're doing all right, that you're okay. I think
yeah,
that we're all functioning adults to some extent. Nobody, well, it depends on the individual, but a lot of us are going through things that we don't share with others. I think everybody does that to some extent. But when it comes to addiction, when it's something as destructive as addiction, the key is opening up about it and sharing your problems with others and trying to overcome them,
yeah.
not on your own.
Yeah, I remember talking to my dad once, like when because I ended up going to rehab and stuff, and I remember coming out of rehab and talking to my dad and trying to explain how I was an addict and an alcoholic, and he didn't quite get it. And we were walking through like the town that we used to live in, and he goes, "Yeah, but you're not like that guy." And there was like a guy on a bench, yeah, and all dirty and fucked up, and like fucked up on drugs and booze. And I'm like, I was one drink or one drug away from being that dad. I was just dead lucky. And I think the public face of addiction is that homeless guy, you know, that classic sort of view of a homeless guy with a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And it's not always that, but I very much could have been close to that. I did an interview with, I was on the Beeb, I was on like BBC News.
Oh, is this when they outed you and Craig as a pair of gays?
No, that was The Guardian. No, this
Right.
was a TV interview.
Okay.
And they sort of, I can't really remember how I got on. Oh no, it was my old rehab. I was doing some media stuff for them because it was quite good fun. And I went on with it and we go, so what was it like being a homeless man drinking on the streets of Plymouth? And I thought, I just had to sort of blag it. And I was like, well, no one makes that choice. But yeah, I could have easily been there. But going back to like the empathy thing, I can empathize with like the people I work with. And, when you say, do you ever get tempted? Not at work, like, because for me, it's, part of my reason for doing this job is a bit selfish. I think it reminds me of how bad things can be. And, yeah, when I see the guys like that I work with, and some of them, well, I think every one of them has the potential to be an incredible person, and some of them already are, and some of them it's just buried under a layer of crack. But
yeah,
like
it's just on the empathy. Sorry, just on the empathy thing there. Do you think that like society suffers from that problem because the lack of empathy often is what makes people who are living on the streets invisible? Like people, I think they either have zero empathy from the outset or they switch it off when during a day. Hundreds of people will walk past somebody who's like half dead on a bench in their own filth, and they won't react to that. Do you think it's a similar thing for people on large, that they haven't experienced, so they can't understand why that person is like that, and therefore they just don't have any empathy for their plight?
I think it's difficult to understand, and I think that is probably a large part of it. But also, as someone in recovery, I can say this. You got to remember, addicts are pains in the arse. Like if you're walking down the street and someone's like, "Oh, there's a fag, mate," and like cigarettes are bloody expensive now.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not, sorry, no.
Okay.
Or can I have some change? No, man. Everybody's skin. We're in a time of austerity, and everyone's trying to like, make their money pay for their families and stuff.
Mm.
And then like sometimes because of the drugs or the trauma behind the drugs, and people can act out, and and some of that acting out is sort of fucking intimidating and terrifying to a lot of
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Sometimes it is to me, and I do this as a job.
I had a guy follow me into a bakery last week, and he literally pointed out the thing that he wanted to eat. It was like this really expensive cake, and I was looked at the money in my hand that I was going to get myself like a pasty with. I hadn't eaten all day. I was like just trying to like nip in somewhere between jobs and get something to eat for myself. And this guy just had never met before came in with me and goes, I want that one there. I want that one, like something out of Little Britain.
Yeah.
And I was like, no,
But
no.
like I'm. You're talking about it like you weren't intimidated by it or whatever, but a lot of people do get intimidated by it.
Oh, I was
And
pissed off.
yeah, yeah, or a lot of people get pissed off, and you know, but also you've got to understand that that guy needed to eat that day, and that was his way of doing it. You know, a lot of people ask me like, "Do you give homeless people money, or should I give homeless people money?" And generally, I don't like. I can't when I'm working, but if I'm out on the street and someone asks me for money, I'll say no, but I'll buy you a coffee, or I'll
Yeah.
buy you a sandwich. And there's a guy just put a comment in the live, and oh, this is a X Factor fucking story. So I was working with a guy a couple of years ago, and I took Lily into Nottingham, and my daughter Lily. I took her into Nottingham, and we were going up to the castle, and we walked past this guy, and he sort of said hello, and Lily was like, "Who's that?" And I said, "Oh, it's someone Daddy works with." And Lily, like, she goes, "Should we go and buy him some cookies?" I said, "Yeah, let's go and buy him some cookies." And she gave this guy some cookies, and he was really appreciative. And he's just put in the comments, yeah. I mean, he's lying in the comments, but he's just said he's 18 months clean now, and that's beautiful. That's like an incredible success story, and but I'm sure he'd openly admit if we gave him a fiver, it would have gone in his arm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so addicts, and when I was an addict, I was bloody difficult to deal with, because I got
Yeah, you were.
a few failed relationships, and yeah, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, man, but I can't tell you how grateful I am that you sort of stuck with me uh, through to now. You know, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't, I wouldn't, I wouldn't have stuck through it with you,
I
man.
can't. I don't. I can't work out if you are like the best at your job or the worst at your job. I think it's a combination of the two. Because I appreciate the fact that you don't take this. Again, it's down to the empathy thing and having the experience of it for yourself. You don't take shit off people because you know that game because you've played it yourself. You know the tricks and the deception and things like that.
Well, I think it's a necessary thing when you're living in addiction rather than recovery. Um, no matter where you are on that spectrum, you know, uh, let's say celebrity addicts are one end of the spectrum. They've got all the money in the world and like fame and fortune. They're never going to lose a house. And then the other end of the spectrum is that guy that Lily gave some cookies to, you know, living in an abandoned pub doorway. Uh, I think um, a necessary part is being really good at manipulating people, uh, really good at lying, or at least thinking you are,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
really good at marketing. I was in marketing, and I think that skill set is necessary to survive that sort of
Yeah,
environment that
yeah.
you find yourself in.
Again, that's because again, it brings you back to that whole functioning addict term that you hate so much, and I think this is why you dislike it, is that the whole functioning part is you're constantly trying to convince everybody that you're okay, or at least keep them away from your addiction so they don't ask any difficult questions and try to make you change your ways, or stop doing what you're doing. So you have to give out this image, this persona of everything being fine. But some people they get addicted to the deception, so to the point where the deception gets out of hand, like, and I'm not going to name any names, but one of our friends, you'd ask him, like, so what are you doing this weekend? Is I'm going to be meeting up with Billy Bragg. Actually, it's weird. I'm doing an interview. It's just to weave this extraordinary lie that's like so, like, it's more difficult to maintain than just telling something that's closer to the truth.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
just weird how people get wrapped up in that kind of stuff.
yeah. And I think there is a lot of look. I don't know what YouTube's guidelines on this stuff is, but drinking and doing drugs is fucking wicked at the start. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Of course it is.
When it's kind of fun, it's
Yeah,
still fun, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
It's only when it
We're
becomes a
not
problem.
promoting it. We have to say that
No,
now.
absolutely not. But it's a problem when it becomes a problem, and I think when it becomes a problem, you want to keep people away, and you want to maintain the sort of illusion that everything's all right. And I see that with the guys that I work with. They'll be like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine. I like living in this doorway." Fucking hell, mate.
Yeah.
Like, and it's a real weird sort of mindset that you get into, and it's not until you sort of have a complete breakdown very often that that things will change.
I suppose at first you start trying to deceive everyone else, and then you start trying to deceive yourself, and that's when it becomes impossible to escape, because when you successfully lie to yourself, you're not in control anymore.
Yeah, if you can convince yourself of something, then it's true, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got a question for you about recovery in general. Like, so, it's very common that anyone who's going through addiction, one of the things that you have to keep at bay more than the questions from your family and friends and from your colleagues is the sense of despair and guilt that you feel that you're you've lost control. And sometimes you have these moments of revelation where you decide, or you have a sensation that you want to stop, that you want to quit, and it's powerful enough for maybe however long, and maybe you even start the recovery process. But what was it for you that was different between all of the times that you tried before, or you thought about it before, to the most recent time that has brought you to where you are now? Like, what was the difference between those moments and the moment that, if you want, was successful, the one that's made you change your life? And
Yeah, that's an interesting and slightly incredibly difficult question.
yeah, I know.
So I did some work with a family. I did like a little sort of intervention meeting with a mum and a son who were concerned about the dad. And the son asked me, like, well, why can't you, like, stop drinking? He was a drinker. And I said to him, I don't know the best way to describe it, but this has just popped into my head. And you remember when you were a kid and you get in a swimming pool and you used to, like, time yourself how long you could hold your breath?
Right. Yeah.
and you go under, and maybe you hold the steps, and you like stay underwater for, I don't know, 30 seconds, and then it's like getting a bit hard, and then you really cling on to the steps, and then you're like, oh fuck, you get to a minute, and then you can feel your whole body's like getting ready to explode, and you know that you've got to go to the surface to get oxygen, and you keep holding on and holding on, and you're thinking, oh, I can just go a bit longer, I can go a bit longer, but eventually you have to like shoot up to the surface and take a big breath. I said to him, that's how your dad feels when he's not drinking. And the drink is the oxygen that he needs. And until you sort of realize that holding your breath underwater is a fucking pointless exercise, then you're always going to want to
Yeah,
get that fix and that sense of relief.
I get that, and that's a great analogy. But I don't. The last part that you said there, until you realise that holding your breath underwater is not a great idea. Anyone who's an addict knows, though, that what they're doing is not good for them. We know that. You know that you're. I mean, I've struggled with alcohol abuse my whole life, like most people. I think from our generation. I want to talk about that a little bit later on, but I think we grew up at a time where it was actively encouraged, and that growing up around pubs and all of that. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. But it's not until later in life, or maybe as an individual, people have a moment where they see themselves in an absolute state. You catch yourself in the mirror, or you I don't know, you lose a tooth because you fall over when you're drunk, or something like that, some kind of physical something that is recognizable, that you can notice in yourself, because a lot of the time you can ignore the physical effects. You can get a bit fatter, and most people can just go, well, whatever, I don't really care. It's amazing what you can put your body and yourself through until the moment that you say, bloody hell, this is gone too far. Usually it's an external intervention, right? Usually it's a health problem. Somebody will say, a doctor will tell you, if you don't stop, your liver's going to pack in, or whatever. So
I'd sort of disagree, mate.
Go on.
The amount of people I know that have got like liver cirrhosis and all keep drinking.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think you asked what was different for me, like 6 years ago when I went to treatment. I think, and it's really difficult. So I don't want to like do war stories or anything, but the day was like, I got done for drink driving. I've still got mixed feelings about that. I say it was the best, worst day of my life. I wasn't actually drink driving, but I mean, I had done 1 billion times. So
yeah. Don't get yourself in trouble retroactively.
No, but absolutely, it was my turn to get caught, and I'm really glad I did. And I'm grateful that I never like hurt anyone or hurt myself through drink driving. And that day, like, I thought, oh fuck, and I ended up, I did my, in inverted commas, 12 stretch, which was 12 hours in a cell, trying to sober up, and I still wasn't. I was still like blowing incredibly high. By the time they let me out, but they could tell I was really bored, and so they let me out. And I left that cell and went straight to the offie, and bought a bottle of vodka, and sort of meandered home the 3-4 mile walk, knowing that like my parents would be there, and my wife at the time, and everyone would just be really pissed off. And that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, if you like. And then it was talking to a solicitor, and I blew really high, and they were like, actually, you're looking at a custodial sentence because you blew off the scale, basically. And I was like, oh fuck, I don't want to go actual prison. I'm far too pretty for that.
Yeah, that's true.
someone suggested like rehab would look good in court. I didn't know, but already like my sister had been on it and sorting it out, and uh, even then, like I went to court on May the 12th, 2018, and I got a 3-year ban and like a fine and stuff. Um, but it could have been worse. It could have been a custodial. And the next day, I went to rehab, but I'd only booked in for a month. And honestly, the day I went in, I was still thinking, oh, okay, I'll go here for a month. It's sunny. I think it was World Cup was on. I was like, oh, I bet they'll have a telly. I won't be bored. It might be vaguely interesting, and I'll come out and be able to drink and do whatever else, but like in a controlled way. Um, and I thought everyone will blow over. Like my ex-wife would be, she'll calm down, and everything will be fine. And I'll just go out and drink like normal and be fine. And then 4 days in, something clicked, and I can't pinpoint what it is. I really can't. But before that, Lily was born. Uh, that wasn't enough to get me clean. Uh, you know, I was, I lost a lot of relationships. I lost a lot of jobs. I lost a lot of people's respect, and none of that was enough to clean me up. And the Lily thing, I'm ashamed of that, and I always will be, and I've got to sort of carry that a bit. I mean, she's all right with it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make me all right with it. So all those massive things and all the threats and all the like, I'm leaving you, or the my parents. Actually, my parents are lovely people, but they didn't really get it, and I was a long way away from them, and I was fucking 38. I was meant to be a grown up. They shouldn't have been worrying about me. But they never threatened to disown me or anything like that. But all the failed jobs, all the like, I think I said this, I never got directly fired for being a pisshead, but it didn't help, And but none of that was enough, Ben. It was just one day in a place called Runcorn, near Liverpool, and I remember ringing home and saying I need to stay longer. And 4 days in, I said, "Yeah, I need to stay for 3 months."
That was your revelation. But I suppose, because I mean, it is an unfair question that I've asked you. Like what was the difference? What was the moment? And I think that people maybe they get tricked into, when you're an addict, you get tricked into believing that you're just gonna, sometime in the future, there's gonna be the day where for some reason you are gonna change, or you're gonna decide not to do it anymore. But the fact is, it's not a process. It's a series of processes. It's a series of events that lead you there. And that includes, even if you try to give up, you try to quit, you try to stop, and you fail and you start up again. You shouldn't discount that. It's part of, it's taking you to the place that you need to be at. It's the people are really hard on themselves when it doesn't work. It's not like just flicking a switch. If you
and I'm a bit of an oddity, to be honest. Like, touch wood, I'm a one and done.
Yeah. But
a lot of people, they'll try, and as long as they keep trying, there's still hope.
But that list of events that you said, that weren't enough to make you stop. They weren't enough individually, but as a sequence of events, they were enough. It was all of those things got you to where you needed to be to have that revelation.
Yeah, and also, like, almost every day I gave up, but I also relapsed every day. It was like I'd wake up, realise what had happened the night before or the day before, be like, fuck, okay, I've got to not do anything. And then 12 hours later, I was back at it. And I've got no one to blame. I had a nice upbringing and stuff, and I think I was just like deeply unhappy for some reason, or I was certainly feeling something I didn't want to feel, and drugs and booze change the way you feel. But I think we're concentrating a lot on sort of the darker times, and we called this recovery for a reason.
Yeah.
I know we have to give a little bit of a backstory to stuff, but it's only in recovery that I can do this. I can look back and sort of be a bit analytical about it.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. You know, it's wonderful to have finally met you after all of the years that I've known you, because
yeah, I mean, how did we meet?
Yeah. When I met,
pulled me out of a bush.
Yeah, you were face down in a flower bed, and I can't remember if I'm convoluting two separate events. I think you then tried to have a fight with my roommates or something like that. There's a lot of weird stuff happened. You did save me one time. Somebody was about to attack me with a golf club, and you ran out of your room with a box of mince pies and started handing them out to these people that are about to attack me.
Yeah, I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, it was so bizarre that it just punctured this violent atmosphere. Everybody was drunk. Everybody in that scene was drunk. I think that's one of the problems, especially like at uni. God, I don't know how many other people that we knew from that time made it out without ongoing addictions. But well, let's talk about that a little bit. You know, what is it that brought us all into that lifestyle? I don't think that it's the same now as it was before. I don't know if you experienced this in probably not in your work, but in your life. We have mentioned it that the younger generations are less into drinking and more into vaping and listening to crap music like Taylor Swift. But I think that when we were growing up in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of respect for people that drank and that could drink a lot.
It was like glorification, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like even Britpop, the whole like laddish culture, like it is almost fashionable. I've got a list. Ladettes, yeah, the Chavs, the Chavettes, the Ladettes. I think we've both got a list of celebrities that have been through various stages of addiction. I think yours are examples of how it went badly. Mine are examples of how they were praised and glorified, as you say. I'm going to give a quick example from the TV. This is how I met our mutual friend. Because he used to come to my room at uni and watch the snooker. He was a big snooker fan. I imagine he still is. I just put a picture of Jimmy White on screen. And I remember when I was a kid and teenager, I should say, and at uni, people were still allowed to drink and smoke on TV. And a lot of pub sports were still famous, or still popular, I should say. Thanks to David Attenborough. Did you know that?
What?
The snooker was a televised event because of David Attenborough. He used to work for the BBC, still does, but he was in charge of the transition from black and white television to colour, and they wanted him to put a show on that would demonstrate the power of colour television, because a lot of people didn't like the idea of it. So he put the snooker on because there's so many different coloured balls on the table and it's green, the table and everything.
Who is that?
David Attenborough.
No, the snooker player.
That's Jimmy White.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
That's an old Jimmy White.
Okay. Well, yeah, Jimmy White. I mean, he was.
It represents Jimmy White. I don't think it is actually Jimmy White.
It's not Jimmy White.
It represents Jimmy White. That's the Madame Tussauds Jimmy White.
I remember reading his biography because at one point I was a drunk taxi driver, and
obviously,
and just read
that'd make a good film
rather than driving. And I remember reading his, and it was just a book about amazing drinking stories. And one of the best ones was when his brother died. Um, they all got pissed, and they were like having a pre-funeral wake. I don't know. Does that make sense? Like they're having
Yeah,
a
yeah.
party the night before the funeral, and Jimmy White was like, "Fuck this! My brother would love this. Let's go and get him." And they went to the chapel of rest and like pulled him out of the coffin,
Oh my
took him
God.
took him back to Jimmy White's games room. All got pissed and sort of passed out, and then woke up about an hour before the funeral, realizing, oh fuck, I can't remember his name. Dave's in the garage. Fuck, we got to get him back. And yeah, had to like drive this corpse
Oh man.
back to the funeral home and try and explain it. But the way he writes about it is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it
but
is
actually,
hilarious.
it's fucking sick.
It,
What I mean?
I mean, it couldn't happen without the influence of alcohol and various narcotics. Yeah, stuff like that doesn't take place in the sober world, and for a good
No.
reason, because I kind of feel like you're more likely to get arrested messing around with dead bodies as a sober person. Just don't do it if you're drunk or sober, listener. Um, but yeah, the reason that I brought him in is because number one, he was an idol of a lot of people the same age as me, and number two, like that every time they were on TV, they were always drinking and smoking. Another example of the pub sports that were televised was the darts. I don't know if you've ever watched the darts. Did you follow the darts?
Like bullseye.
This is Andy Fordham. Do you remember Andy Fordham? He was a champion.
Yeah, big fellow, wasn't he?
Look, he's a huge fella there. Look, he's on screen there. He ballooned up to 31 stone. He used to drink 24 bottles of lager before he even stepped up to the hockey.
Yeah.
That's pre-game, and he was on Celebrity Fit Club. That's how because he's in pretty good shape nowadays. He went to the doctor. Yeah. He went to the doctor, and they said that his liver was operating at 25% capacity, which isn't surprising for a man of his stature and habit. But yeah, I just remember always seeing these men on TV drinking and smoking, and it was allowed, it was promoted, it was in advertising. It used to be in films. I mean, a lot of the James Bond films that they broadcast nowadays, they've used CGI to edit out the cigarettes because everyone was always smoking and drinking. Yeah, but it's just a common thing. And I've got one more before we move on to yours. But I think this is someone that, well, our mutual friend was a big fan of, but I think you probably were too. The famous actor and rapscallion Oliver Reed, with the quote on screen there. I have two ambitions in life. One is to drink every pub dry. The other is to sleep with every woman on earth. And he died as he lived, with a glass of alcohol in his hand. He literally dropped dead during a drinking session on the set of was it Gladiator, wasn't it? That was his last film.
Oh yeah, God, I forgot
He got into a drinking session with some sailors, and I got some stats here. It was in a pub in Malta where they were doing some of the scenes. In fact, he died before he'd finished his part, so they had to kind of cut together some of the some of the reels. But he drank in his final session that literally made his heart stop. He drank 8 bottles of German beer, 3 bottles of Morgan's rum, a bottle of Famous Grouse whiskey, and then some more whiskey after that. And the tab came to $866. I don't know why it's in dollars. It'd be in euros. But yeah, that's made his heart stop. But he was always kind of idolized as this masculine dude with a drink in his hand. I just thought he was cool as a teenager. I just thought he was the coolest guy on earth.
And I get that. I really get that. And you're gonna slate me for this, but like, in my sort of last year of drinking, um, one of my favorite TV shows, you'll have never seen this, was a TV show called Geordie Shore, which
Oh
was like
God.
a reality TV show with a
Yeah.
load of Geordies, and they'd literally just go out and get pissed and get in trouble and fuck and party and yeah.
Yeah.
And I used to love that show. And literally a year later, when the next series came out, I tried to watch it, and I was sober then, and I couldn't watch it. And like just looking at that picture of Oliver Reed and remembering like when he was on, was it Parkinson or Wogan,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he just started singing in the band. 7 years ago, I'd have
Yeah.
been like, that's funny. But now I look at that and I think that's really sad.
No, absolutely, and that's what I want. One of the points I want to make is that I think as an impressionable teenager growing up, you just see the kind of rebellious side of it, the rebellious nature, and I think that
Hmm.
was very much taken advantage of with like lad culture, like you said before. Like they knew who they were marketing to, and we didn't know really much better. I think that the younger generations now have maybe got a clearer idea around those types of things.
Hmm.
They certainly drink less than we did in the past, um,
Yeah.
and that's
Uh,
good. I fully support that. I think it's great, and I agree. Like I know that interview that you're talking about. It is sad. It's desperately sad when you look at what these people were going through. Like Ernest Hemingway was another one. You know Ernest Hemingway. Everyone knows he shot himself.
mm,
I don't know if many people knew that was when he was in recovery. It was the only
oh,
time
really?
in his life when he stopped drinking. He was dry for 2 months, and it flung him into a spiral of depression. And one of the reasons that people often don't talk about with addiction is that, well, you mentioned it briefly before, but you're using something to mask some uncomfortable and difficult feelings. What happens is that they don't go away. You're just like freezing them temporarily.
Hmm.
When you stop using whatever you're using to mask those feelings, they unfreeze times however long you've been had them frozen for. So it's like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
bomb, an emotional
Yeah.
tsunami.
A big saying in recovery is one of the best things about recovery is you get your emotions back.
Yeah, but all at
One of the
once,
worst,
all at
one of
once.
one of the worst things about being in recovery is you get your emotions
Yeah,
back.
yeah. I
And
can.
but there's quite an interesting theory actually about addiction, and it, yeah, Sharon will attest to this absolutely. Like there's the idea that when you sort of start seriously using, that's when you stop developing emotionally and
Hmm.
um, sort of life skills and stuff as well. But I'd say mostly emotionally. So for me, I was, by the time it was like a big problem. Like when did I meet you? When I was 19, I suppose it was becoming a big problem then. So let's just say I'm a 19-year-old, but in a 38-year-old's body by the time I found recovery,
Yeah.
and and trying to deal with having a child, having a family, having a wife, having a mortgage, having a proper job. I'm a kid, you know. And you could argue that my drinking actually started when I was about 15, and try doing all that when you're 15. It's really difficult to cope with. And part of getting into recovery is developing that emotional maturity. And I'm not saying I'm mature. I'm catching up to probably where I should be.
Hmm.
I still don't think I'm where I should be. Um, when I look at normal people,
Yeah.
Um,
I thought you were going to say
but
when you look at your collection of wrestling belts, but yeah.
oh yeah, when I yeah yeah right. But like it's a process, and I think that's one of the most difficult bits about recovery. Realizing you've got so much catching up to do,
Hmm.
and that can be too daunting for people. It sounds like that's what it was for Hemingway. I didn't know he was sober when
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was
I
the
know
first time in his life, in his adult life, that he'd been in, because he started drinking when he was at 12, I think he says in his biography. But he was again, he was during his own lifetime celebrated for his alcoholism. Like that was a part of his personality that became part of his living legend. You know, so I think there's an element of trying to live up to other people's expectations if you're in that situation as a celebrity, which brings us nicely onto the first image of all of these people here. Harry Potter's on that one. Bloody hell.
Oh no, so this is the good one, Ben.
Is that the good one? Have I started with the wrong one?
Yeah. Oh well, I mean, let's fuck the bad one off.
Okay.
The bad one is a load of people who are now dead because of their addiction. I'll just rattle some names off. Amy Winehouse was like a massive one. Marilyn Monroe, Elvis. I don't know. Think of some dead. Think of a dead celebrity.
I'll flash it up.
Okay.
There's the bad one.
Yeah. So all these people.
Is that Tina Turner?
No, I think it's Whitney, isn't it?
Oh, is it Whitney?
Know, I
Sorry.
can't see the image. I don't think she is dead, but
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, and drugs and alcohol were involved in all these deaths. And you look at the amount of talent and the amount of there's Philip Seymour Hoffman. What an incredible actor!
Yeah, he's good.
I mean, this is an awful image. I wish I could have found a better one. This is like just. Actually, this is cheesy as fuck. This is one thing about recovery that pisses me off. Like badly photoshopped images with a cheesy line like "drugs kill dreams." Anyway, but yeah, there's some great guys on there, isn't there? Michael Jackson, Marilyn.
Is that Meatloaf in the corner, in the bottom left-hand corner? Is that a young Meatloaf? It couldn't. He's not dead, is he? Or is he?
I don't know, but no. River Phoenix. Who's that guy next to the word kill? That's that comedian.
No.
Anyway, look,
that guy.
You could take it off the screen. You could put like 1 million people on that, couldn't you? You know, and they're just famous people. Never mind, the amount of mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and friends who have died from addiction, and all that wasted life and all that wasted potential. And it's just sad that that many people die from it. But on a more positive note, these are all people that are still alive. And I didn't actually check before I sent you that image, but I think everybody on there is still alive. And all these people are lovely and successful.
Oh, Taylor bloody Swift, give it a rest, man.
Yeah, they've all had issues with substance use. We don't call it misuse anymore. We just call it use. So there's some great people on there, and I can think of some others that aren't on there that I can't see. But yeah, like Eminem. Who knew? Like, I didn't know. He's like 30 years,
Yeah.
Anything. Elton John, I mean,
Drew Barrymore. I'm surprised to see her on there. I thought that she was.
Yeah, Charles Starlett. Yeah, did quite a lot of coke, I believe. I didn't actually realise Taylor was on that. I'll have to ask Millie what Taylor's drug of choice was. She'll know.
The sound of her own voice, I think. She's addicted to.
Yeah. But yeah, Harry Potter, Robert Downey Jr. is on there.
I did know about Harry Potter. He was.
Did you? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was during the Harry Potter films. I think obviously the later ones, not the early ones, but when they were of age on set, they used to go out and get smashed, and he'd turn up on set hungover and. Completely off topic, but I've seen photos of him and rumours that he might be the next Wolverine. That's exciting, isn't it? something to look forward
It's
to.
not. That would absolutely ruin it for me.
He's got
Fucking
hair
hate
on his
Crow.
face.
So have I.
He's totally ripped now. He's like properly ripped. I don't know if you've
No,
seen
I
this.
mean that upsets me too.
Yeah,
But,
it's annoying, isn't it?
but good for you, Daniel
Yeah, well
Radcliffe.
done. Whatever, fucking
Yeah,
millionaire.
he's. But I think but we've thrown up celebrities again. But like, I could show you 100 pictures of people that I know in recovery. Like, uh, he sometimes listens. I always give him a shout out just to piss him off. But like, when I got into recovery, I joined what we call the fellowship. Like, I fucking hate saying that. It does make it sound like a cult, doesn't it? And it is
That's-
a little bit culty, but if you ignore
no, it
that,
sounds like Tolkien. It sounds like a sci-fi. It sounds like you got to carry a ring into Mordor.
yeah. But I got what they call a sponsor, and I actually, he's not my sponsor anymore, so I don't follow that model of recovery at the moment. I might go back to it one day, but who knows? But now he's just my mate, uh, and I always use him as an example because he's like, I think he's 17 years clean and sober now, and he works in recovery, and he's literally saved the lives of thousands of people, and he hates like getting called out for it. So I won't say Jerome's name, but you'll meet him at the wedding.
Yeah.
He's incredible, but like he goes along and does it and saves normal people. I forget where I was going with this. I think I just wanted to embarrass Jerome. But oh no, this is where I'm going. Right.
Yeah.
And me and Jerome have had this conversation several times. He says to me, he grew up on a council estate and I grew up on a country estate. And I'm like, that's not quite true, Jerome, but okay, we'll go with that. And Jerome, like, has shown me photos of him when he was an OG. And he's got dreads. His dad was like, I'm breaking down anonymity now a little bit. His dad was involved in things,
Yeah.
and he sort of grew up in that lifestyle. He's been stabbed, he's been shot at, all this stuff. And he showed me a photo of him. I was like, fucking hell, that's an horrible looking bastard. And then I see Jerome now with his lovely little face that I want to smush all the time, and he's the nicest man on the planet. And just, I don't think it matters whether you're Jerome or you're Daniel Radcliffe. I think the struggle is the same in a lot.
No,
of
yeah,
respects,
for
you
sure,
know.
for sure.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it. Yeah. And just calling him out a little bit as well.
But it is it's a pity. It's sad that I think you're right. The potential exists inside of all of these people, whatever they're going through, whatever they're suffering through. But it's whether or not they can make it through. And I don't know if you agree with this or not, but in my dealings with people with addiction, it's always been that people have. I don't know. I don't know if this is true or not, but it's something that people repeat. Is that they have to decide to make the change before anyone else can help them change.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, hundreds of people. Well, maybe not hundreds of people, but I was told thousands of times that I was an alcoholic. And I used to make the jokes, no, alcoholics go to meetings. And I used to make that joke for several years. And towards the end of it, I just went, yeah. And,
Yeah, that's the moment.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it wasn't even a moment. I just didn't give a fuck, But yeah, absolutely. It takes the person to decide that they want to make the change. No, another model of recovery is this thing called SMART, and they have a saying, and it's you didn't cause it, you can't control it and you can't cure it, and that's for the families of addicts.
Hmm.
There's nothing you can do, really.
Yeah.
You can, and there's no right way of doing it. You can be supportive, uh, or you can withdraw support. You know,
Hmm.
there's no like set way to do anything. It until the addict themselves decides that they're ready to make the change. There's no helping them.
I'd just say to anyone that is going through that, because like, I've been through it, and you go through it on a daily basis. But when you're dealing with people who are addicted and that you care about, and you see them, you have to watch them actively participating in their own demise, destroying themselves, and they don't seem to want to stop. Like you said, should you help? Should you withdraw your help? It's incredibly frustrating because you feel powerless. So they lose control of themselves, and you lose any influence that you have over being of use in guiding them away from it. But like I said before, it's a pleasure for me today to be able to talk to you as a normal human being. So don't forget.
Normal's pushing it.
Yeah, you fucking weirdo. But don't forget that person does exist somewhere inside all of that, and all you can do is I don't know. I'm not. I was almost gonna give some really weak advice that would just be insulting to anyone.
Honestly, I think like if anyone is listening and they feel they might have a problem, the one thing that I hold true, and it's what I tell all my guys, is life has to be better without drugs or booze or both.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then there's no fucking point. But making that life better, and that's what recovery is. And I want to talk about that briefly before we finish, because that's what the title of this episode is. And I feel I've just banged on about how shit addiction is.
No. Go for it. Go for it.
Well, addiction is shit, but recovery is fucking amazing. It's like hard work, life has to be better, but it's not just going to happen. You can stop doing drugs and stop drinking and and sit there, and life will still be shit, and like in the NA and AA stuff, like success is kind of measured by time, which I'm not sure I agree with, because I've met addicts that haven't used anything for 25 years and they're complete arseholes, and nobody wants to be around them, like when they were addicts. But if I just wanted to get time, I'd just not use substances and just sit here, and time would just pass me by. And I can't stop time, so I just get more time. But what's the fucking point in that? My body might recover, but nothing else would happen. And it's only through like work on. I'm sort of vaguely talking about me, but I don't just mean me. I mean like the thousands and millions of people in recovery doing the work every day, working on themselves. And it's only through that now I have an incredible relationship with my daughter. Now I'm about to get married to like the most wonderful woman in the world who accepts me for all my weirdness, and
that's the strangest thing out.
Encourages me to keep working, and keep developing, but doesn't try and change me or anything like that. She's incredible, and I've got a job that I enjoy, and I work with amazing people, and that's only through working at it. I can't just sit there and not take any drugs and not drink, because what's the point in that? That's not interesting. That's not exciting. And honestly, I've said this to you before, I don't often think about like using anything. like every now and again. But it's normally like if I'm at something and it's really boring, or it's like I'm at a gig and the band's shit. I'll be like, oh, this would be better if I was off my nut.
Yeah.
But then that's not my fault, is it? That's
Yeah.
that's the band, or whatever. So yeah, if anyone is
But
like going through it or knows someone, like it is worth it. It's hard work.
like life is better in the moment when you're on something. Yeah, sure. But life is not just one moment, is it? It's a series of moments. And in the long term, like it's so much better when you're not under the force, the nature of a desire that you can't control. Because it's not. It's never just one time. It's a habit. So
I think a big part of it for me is I don't want to have to rely on any substance or anything really to get me through life now. And like a few years down, like I've got a bit of time now. I'm still a baby in it really, but like I remember like that year one. Sometimes I'd wake up and it would be like fucking a grey, cold day, and I'd go out with the dog. I'd be like, "This is fucking brilliant! Wow, I'm feeling this in the moment. Yeah, I'm in the moment, man. Oh yeah, I can feel the drizzly rain and the pollution on my face. Oh, this is great. I don't often feel like that so much now, but every now and again I do. And they're like special moments. I think like they're things that everyone experiences, and like life is basically working your way to those moments, isn't it?
yeah, for sure.
And to have that genuine emotion around it, or that genuine feeling.
Yeah, to be present.
Yeah. So the words, being present is incredible, and I get those feelings like fairly often, and it's remembering to recognize that and know that they're real. Whereas for 20 years almost I was feeling things, but I don't know if they were ever real, because something else was in my body that was
driving the car.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely worth it, and recovery is amazing, and also you get to meet some amazing people. So if you're thinking about it, fucking do it.
I think you're doing a great job, even though you completely lack empathy, and I don't know what positive effect you're having, but no, seriously, it's great. I always like talking about this with you because it's a pleasure. I think about what it was like before.
I don't know how we were ever friends.
I wish that I had been able to save all of the voice messages over the years, because some of them are I could have used those at your wedding.
Oh, fuck, we've got to talk about that speech next week.
I forgot the speech. Yeah. Well, that's a wonderful time to wrap up, but I think it's something that we'll probably end up returning to, because it's an interesting topic, and I think it's nice to hear the stories of success and failure and success. But yeah, we'll be back here again. Okie dokie.
All right, buddy.
Well, good to speak to you as always.
You too, man.
Stay unempathetic. Keep doing what you're doing, and
buy that man a cake.
Okay, I'll go back tomorrow and give him a cake. Not the one that he wanted, though. He's not getting the one he wanted. You get a cheaper one. All right. I'll speak to you soon. Okay, lads. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.